buckle up, because it all comes down to this. It was always going to come down to this. The millions of lives lost, the endless gravestones, the corruption, the lies, the trillions of dollars wasted in taxpayer money. It was always going to end with President Trump sitting down talking directly to Russian President Vladimir Putin. And now it's happening, finally. Started yesterday with that 2-hour phone call between Trump and Putin, the first, hopefully, of many phone calls. And right on cue, of course, literally moments after the phone call ended, the European Central Bank issued an alert, a warning that they might have to take away your gold because things are about to get bumpy. So peace in Ukraine is a major threat to these globalists. Unbelievable. And the Brits are already calling Trump's call with Putin a failure for Trump.
The question is, how can this be spun by Donald Trump as anything other than a U.S. president who has failed?
So you see how the European narrative is unfolding, right? You see how Europe feels about it. So we've got a lot of news to get to, and there's so much at stake. I can't begin to overstate its importance. The world order is hanging in the balance right now. The media is panicking. You saw it overnight because they know this was never about Zelensky. It was never about democracy. This was always about who controls the future. Will it be the globalists that run the EU? Or will it be Trump? Or will it be Putin, Xi Jinping, and the BRICS nations all coming together? Well, just last week, President Trump said it bluntly. There will be no peace without me. Not Biden, not NATO, not the EU, certainly not Zelensky. Trump made it clear that the Ukraine war ends when he walks into the room, not before. Okay, maybe. Remember, Putin holds all the cards here, not Trump. And J.D. Vance, in a kind of way, acknowledged that last week, that really the only choice the U.S. has is to walk away entirely from Ukraine if both sides can't get to the peace table.
If Russia's not willing to agree on a ceasefire, then we're eventually just going to have to say this is not our war, said U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, referring to the impasse.
I mean, he's right. Or we just keep endlessly funding this boondoggle, and we go further and further into debt. But last night, the warmongers and neocons like Ben Shapiro did not like J.D. Vance saying that we'd walk away from Ukraine, their brains melting down. You mean we'd just let Russia win?
If what J.D. Vance means is something else, namely that we'll walk away from the negotiating table and then we'll continue to support Ukraine sufficient so they are not overrun by the Russians, agree. If what he means is we're going to walk away and basically just abandon Ukraine in the face of the Russians, that would be a bad policy.
I got news for Ben Shapiro. Putin isn't desperate for Trump. He's not begging for talks. He already won. He beat Ukraine, he beat the EU, and more importantly, he beat all of NATO, including the United States. He's winning on the battlefield. He's winning on the energy front. He's locked in historic trade deals with BRICS nations, while the United States is bleeding billions of dollars in a war it can't win. Former Trump advisor Colonel Douglas Macgregor told me yesterday that Putin has already moved on.
Well, I think, first of all, you've answered your own question. No one in Russia is surprised by the sanctions threat. They're quite prepared for that. Remember, Putin just a few weeks ago spoke to the leaders of all the major industries and firms in the private sector in Russia and said it's time to come to terms with reality that these sanctions are never going to go away. The West is not going to finally wake up and turn back towards us and recognize that we're not the enemy. So we have to build bridges elsewhere. Those bridges are being built. It's called BRICS.
That's the truth. He can't trust the West. Putin's built an economy that thrives under pressure. And now with Trump back on the stage, he's sitting right now between the United States and China, leveraging both sides. Now, sure, Trump has floated new crushing sanctions if peace talks fall apart, but let's not kid ourselves. Sanctions? They don't mean a damn thing to Putin.
And I don't think anybody in Russia is terribly worried about the sanctions. And I know that President Trump continues to impute great importance to them, though I think privately he would like to get rid of them entirely.
But here's the thing, the world has already seen it. It didn't work. In fact, Russia's GDP is expected to grow more than 3% this year. While Western economies slide towards recession, Europe is rationing energy. America is $36 trillion in debt, is drowning in inflation, and is about to pass this big, beautiful spending bill that we keep hearing about. Really? Digging ourselves further into debt, as the Wall Street Journal points out? We can't stop our addiction to spending. Putin declared that sanctions against Russia cause much greater harm to the countries imposing them, and placing more sanctions on Russia would lead to catastrophe for the West.
Домохозяйств. Все это еще раз показывает, что санкционные ограничения в отношении России гораздо больший ущерб наносят именно тем странам, которые их и вводят. Дальнейшее...
He's right. The IMF said Russia is now growing faster than all advanced economies in the world. I mean, let that sink in. And let's not forget, while Biden was cutting off Russian oil, blowing up their Nord Stream pipeline, Russia was signing multi-billion-dollar deals with China, India, Brazil, Saudi Arabia. He's made the West irrelevant in many ways. That's why Trump was in the Middle East last week, trying to shore up some deals. Hey, don't forget about us. I know you're all lined up with BRICS, but what about America? And Trump is in many ways the last hope for the West. I'm going to say it. I really believe that. Put pressure on Europe to stop funding this war. End the war in Ukraine. Try to make some sort of trade deals with Putin and Russia and China and the BRICS nations. Otherwise, we are screwed big time. And now we know just how threatened the global elites really are, because literally moments after Trump and Putin got off the phone, the European Central Bank issued a warning that they may need to crack down on physical gold. Excuse me? Now, I mentioned this right as it broke yesterday on our show, but now I have more time to think about this and analyze it, and it's actually pretty astonishing. You want to know how badly peace threatens the system? They're afraid that if the war ends, the entire fake economy they've built will collapse. Their only solution? Take your gold away. Take your ability away to transact in gold. Stop letting you buy things in gold. Settle transactions. You have to use the euro. You have to use fake paper currency of the euro. Their fake money printing press is literally being threatened by peace talks in Ukraine. It's over. The slush fund is over. And that tells you everything. Peace threatens their power, and they're lashing out because Europe is about to collapse. And back in Washington, the war lobby is sweating bullets. You know, the neocons, like Ben Shapiro and others, they're freaking out because if Trump and Putin actually reach a deal, the Pentagon budget takes a big hit. Raytheon loses huge contracts. The whole Ukraine grift collapses. They spent over $170 billion on this war, and what? And now what? They're staring down the barrel of peace and they're terrified by it? So here we are, Trump and Putin on the phone. Xi Jinping watching from the sidelines right now, anxiously waiting. BRICS watching and waiting. And the European Central Bank threatening gold owners because peace is a threat to their financial system in Europe. It's all happening. The global world order is breaking down in real time. Things are shifting in a big way. Trump has no choice here. Let's be honest. If he doesn't cut a deal, the United States walks away a huge loser in this. Massive loser. BRICS surges as a result. Putin holds all the cards, whether you like it or not. And Trump has to play the best hand of his life, or this is going to end very badly for the United States. And everyone knows it, folks.